Welcome to Mana's Seal YouTube channel. The previous video link is on the description box or on the top right card. Volume 15, The Half-Elf Godkin. Ainz gradually made the eye move into the deeper parts of the city. He wanted to find the elves that resided in trees that corresponded to shops. If he thought of it as a usual town, the shops should be clustered together in a convenient place to reach. Considering that they also had to keep inventory on hand, it wouldn't be strange if they were located in the larger trees. After a while, Ainz groaned silently. I can't find them. This city, made out of thousands of trees, was nothing but a forest to the human eye. He couldn't find anything like a signboard because it was night, and there were no nameplates on the trees either. It was just rows and rows of trees, without any individual characteristics that he could see. He couldn't be sure that the tree he was looking at wasn't the same tree he saw just before. If this was a human city, there would be a thoroughfare with shops arrayed on both sides. They could also be clustered around the main square. He couldn't find any such places here at a glance. With his experience still now becoming useless, he had no choice but to search by intuition. This was a city that was not at all welcoming to a traveler. It was hard, no, it was impossible to find his target amidst this. That said, it was not like he needed to complete everything today. They shouldn't be hasty, but instead, take it slow and safe. Even so, Ainz continued his search for a while after that. He had already activated God's Eye, so he might as well use it until it ran out of duration. But Ainz could only sigh after his long search. It's no use doing the same thing again when the residents are sleeping. He shouldn't do things without a plan. Even though it would be riskier, he should return to search in the morning. He would probably get a clue by observing the way people moved around. Ainz wasn't sure how long it would take to accomplish his goal if he didn't do that. Ainz selected a random place and sent God's Eye in. Elves used the walkways between the trees to move around the entrances of their homes, which would correspond to the first or second floor of a human house. So he decided to infiltrate from the first floor. It was the same principle as a thief looking through drawers. Starting from the second floor would make for terrible paving. After God's Eye passed through the wall, it flew up until it found elves sleeping on the third floor. He found a father, mother, and two boys sleeping there. It seemed like this house belonged to a family. I already heard about this, but how primitive. The four of them were sleeping soundly on a large amount of leaves collected in what was supposedly a bedroom. Human villages also used dried grass in place of a mattress, so maybe this was similar to that. According to the elves in Nazark, this was what a normal elven bedroom looked like. Although it took a lot of work to collect a large amount of leaves, they could be used for a long time without any issues. When he asked them about being bitten by insects, they replied that a spell was cast on the leaves to prevent that. The children, the two boys, were pleasantly sleeping with slow, calm breaths. Sleep, how did it used to feel like? A long time had passed since he gained this body. This body's lack of the three basic needs and its insensitivity to pain was probably the reason he managed to not collapse till now, but he still felt some regret about it. When he sees such pleasant sleeping faces, he feels nostalgic and a bit envious. Even more so when he sees tasty food. Good grief. Ainz shrugged and activated greater teleportation, arriving in front of a large curtain made of vines. It was not weird to see such veils made of vines in the forest, but if one looked at this curtain closely, they would find that it was skillfully hiding a small cottage behind it. This had been their party's temporary base for these past few days, a green, secret house created by a magic item. Fenrir, who was sitting beside the green secret house, slowly stood up to sniff its surroundings, letting out a growl while glaring in Ainz's direction. But his line of sight was a bit off. Just like Or back then, even Fenrir couldn't completely sense someone being hidden by perfect unknowable. Rather, it should be praised for the fact that it even managed to sense Ainz while he maintained perfect unknowable. Ainz cancelled the spell. Now that it could see Ainz, Fenrir bowed its head with a look of remorse on his face. Although it couldn't talk, Fenrir was rather intelligent. Its act of bowing its head was not the instinctual act of a beast, but clearly conveyed its apology to Ainz. But Ainz didn't think that Fenrir was at fault here. From his point of view, he had been just some unknown intruder that suddenly appeared here. This was the natural reaction for a guard protecting its master. It would have been more problematic if it hadn't responded like that. He had only brought this Fenrir with them instead of the usual Hanzos this time. Although Ainz said that he would take a lot of high-level underlings with him, he did not stay true to his words due to certain reasons. In the present situation, where he couldn't predict how his plan to obtain friends for the twins would work out, he didn't want to expose information to others if possible. And the other reason. He stopped allowing the Guardians to head out alone after Sheltier's brainwashing incident. But what was the result? Even though Nazarick started being more active since then, the enemy didn't appear again. The only one who fell for the bait was a platinum-armored man named Riku Agnesia when Ainz, who was actually Pandora's actor, appeared alone. It was like the enemy who brainwashed Sheltier didn't exist at all. That was why. Since he managed to fish out Riku when there were no Hanzos around, maybe the enemy had a way to detect the presence of the Hanzos. Perhaps it's some ability of a world-class item. Or perhaps with some kind of talent. Therefore, he was performing a dangerous experiment by not bringing the Hanzos along. He informed Albedo of this reason, but even Ainz could see that there were a lot of faults in his reasoning. She was persuaded by his spiel, smiling all the while, which made him doubt if she was really persuaded. Maybe he would get a talking to after he returns. Good work. Ainz left Fenrir with a curt greeting, feeling a little somber. He then put his hand on the green secret house's door, so camouflaged that one couldn't find it without knowing that it was there beforehand, and pushed a little. The door didn't move. Unfortunately, as this magic item did not have a keyhole, though it could be forcibly opened by something like a pignoi, one had to request someone inside to open it once it was locked. Ainz used the door knocker. One could look out from the green secret house by making the door translucent from the inside. After a few moments, he heard the door being unlocked. And then it opened. Welcome home. We welcome come home. The one who replied energetically was Or. Mare slowly followed with his welcome, his eyes completely drowsy. Both of them have changed into pajamas, Mare going as far as wearing a nightcap. Of course, this was the correct appearance given the time. Sorry for making you both wait so late into the night, Ainz said as he entered. The space inside was filled with a warm light, and was far larger than one would expect from its outer appearance. You would directly enter the living room from the door, and you could see the kitchen and other rooms from there. There were also 4 doors that were connected to the individual rooms. No, we expected it to take more time when we were informed that you could be late. I thought so as well, but let's not talk while standing here. Let's sit over there. He wanted to tell Aura that it was fine to go to sleep, but he should still share the gathered intel with them, even though it's just a meager amount. Ainz didn't put much trust in his ability to remember, so it's better to do it as soon as possible. While feeling a bit guilty about making them go along with his selfish reasons, he invited them into the living room to talk about what he saw. Sitting on the chairs there, he found Or looking attentive in contrast to Mare, who already dropped his head onto the backrest with his eyes half closed. He looked like he would go to sleep any time now. Ainz felt even more guilty when he compared them to the sleeping children from before. Am I not being considerate about those who need sleep because I don't need any? This is bad. Why don't we let Mare go to bed? I wouldn't mind if you informed him about our talk in the morning. Good grief. Or slapped Mare's head. Wake up. You are being rude to Ainz-sama, you know. Phew, oh, you welcome back. Mare gave a small bow. Ainz couldn't mock that they already went through that. This child, really, Or was getting angry at Mare's attitude. It's not good to force someone to stay awake. It can affect tomorrow's opera. Ainz shut his mouth suddenly, remembering himself from his Yggdrasil days. Of course, he believed that it didn't affect his office work, but was that really the case? Also, it was different when you did it to entertain yourself versus when you were made to do so for others' convenience. Ainz, Suzuki Satori used to complain when he had to stay late because of his boss. First of all, he shouldn't be comparing children to adults, but it could also be considered wrong to compare a child with the astounding physical ability of a level 100 NPC to an ordinary adult like Suzuki Satori. The two of them stared at Mare, his eyes, half closed from drowsiness, looked like he was glaring at them. Mare's head suddenly slid, causing him to panic with his eyes wide open. He then returned his head to his previous position. He was nearly at his limit. Well then, let's do it like this. Mare can go to sleep to not affect tomorrow's work. His wits will become dull if you forcefully keep him awake, and that's not a good thing. Can you inform him in the morning about what we will talk about here like as before? She should have immediately agreed to Ainz's orders. Instead, she made a complicated expression, probably thinking that Mare's behavior was too slovenly for a guardian. However, it was just for a moment. She deeply bowed, as if she just persuaded herself in her mind. Understood. I will immediately take Mare back to his room. Can you stand? He can't even give a legible response to Or, so standing is out of the question. Let me carry him. Or looked like she wanted to say something, but Ainz ignored her, stood up, and lifted Mare in his arms. Perhaps because Mare had changed into pajamas and was only minimally equipped, he found Mare to be quite light. No, normal children probably only weighed about this much. It would have been harder if he was fully equipped, though it's not like I couldn't carry him even then. That thing is really heavy, perhaps the heaviest of all of the Guardian's equipment. Since both of his hands, he could have carried him with one hand if he wanted to, were occupied, he let Or go before him to open the door. He entered Mare's room and let him down slowly onto the bed. He had already closed his eyes and was taking slow calm breaths. He probably started sleeping while he was in Ainz's arms. Ainz silently exited the room, taking care not to make any sounds. Or followed him even more silently, as expected of a ranger. Both of them returned to the living room and took their seats again. Immediately, Or bowed her head and started speaking. Please forgive us for taking a rest while Ainz-sama is working so hard. You'd be right to be angry and feel uneasy about his work ethic as a guardian. But let me assure you that we would usually equip items to remove our need for sleep if we have work to do at night, and you wouldn't see such a slovenly appearance from us. If you were to ask us why we didn't do so today, it's because our strength in battles would be reduced a bit as equipping the item meant leaving out our battle-focused equipment. So we decided not to equip the item, as we will be standing on guard to protect Ainz-sama. Aura quickly explained. He could feel her anxiety peeking through her uncharacteristic way of talking. No, you don't have to worry so much. We are here on vacation after all. There's nothing wrong with sleeping early. More importantly, what about you? Or don't you feel sleepy? No, I would never show you such an unbecoming appearance like that. Too stiff. I am not feeling angry at all. Rather, I feel happy that I got to see a different side of Mare, you know. You people always end up being too formal in front of me. I now feel extremely curious about how others behave, normally. Like say, how about Cocytus? There's not much difference from the normal Cocytus, or a return to her normal expression. I see. In that case, should I secretly have a look using perfect unknowable, while he is alone? Ainz subtly smiled, although his face didn't show it, his voice probably relayed his feelings, and Aura too joined in with a smile akin to that of a pranking kid. Well then, are you sure you don't want to sleep? I am usually awake around this time, so I don't really feel that sleepy. According to her, it was common for her to stay awake late into the night to play with those of her monsters that were nocturnal. This playing seemed to be important for beast tamers, as the monsters would build up stress, and wouldn't operate at full potential if they skipped it. That said, it was not like she was reducing the amount of time she spent sleeping. She just slept late into the day following the night she stayed awake. So, it was something similar to a night shift.